This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Think you know what's going to happen in the big game? Call it with DraftKings Predictions, a new app where you can make real money predictions on football's biggest game. DraftKings Predictions is new, simple to use, and available in your state. Download now. New DraftKings Predictions customers get up to a $75 first trade bonus with promo code SPOTIFY. DraftKings Predictions is a CFTC registered introducing broker. Event contract trading involves substantial risk of loss. One for new customer. Opt-in required. Non-withdrawable predictions dollars expire in 1 year. Ends February 8th, 2026. Market availability varies. Eligibility restrictions apply. See terms at dkng.co/predictions promo.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
Hi, I'm Phoebe Becker.
I'm James Hernandez.
Team GB Figure Skaters.
You're listening to the latest on the Winter Olympics from
Anything But Footy.
Oh, Lindsey Vonn, downhill disaster for the 2010 Olympic champion and skiing superstar. We will have the latest. I'm Michael.
And I'm John, and this is Milano Daily from Anything But Footy. We talk about the Olympics and the Paralympics all the time, not once every 4 years like everybody else does.
It could be a historic day for Team GB. They're calling it, potentially, Magic Monday, after Mia Brooks bagged her big air boarding spot.
There's a semi-final versus Sweden in the curling.
And it may be day 3, but we want to just keep you ahead of the curve. We've got tomorrow's news today. We call it TNT. And a bumper edition. We're talking short track, moguls and biathlon.
My name is Jefferies. I am a French-born British athlete.
My name is Mateo Jeannesson, and I'm a mogul skier.
With the rest of the news from the Games, including a Northern Olympic bid. I think Michael should be in charge of it.
I could be the new Lord Co. This is Milano Daily from Anything But Footy. Download, listen, follow, pass it on, share the link. Let your friends and your fellow Olympic fans know where we are. They will all have enjoyed it over the weekend. They'll all be looking for a bit of escapism with Milano Cortina this week as they're back to work, back to school, back to college. So tell them to follow the podcast. We will tell them everything they need to know.
Hi, it's Niall, Treacy here, Team GB short track speed skater. You are listening to the Olympics with Anything But Footy.
So yesterday, no doubt what the big story here in Milano Cortina was, everybody was talking about Lindsey Vonn. Lots of different views, lots of different opinions. I'm actually quite looking forward, if looking forward is the right phrase, to seeing how some of the newspapers, certainly some of the American newspapers, report this story, because I know Lindsey Vonn was actually having a bit of a pop back at some journalists on social media and their commentary on her decision to race yesterday. But as we know, Lindsey Vonn sustained an injury, but we are told she's in a stable condition and in good hands with a team of American and Italian physicians. That was the statement that we got from US Ski and Snowboard. We also got a message, a heartfelt one, from the IOC president, Kirsty Coventry. She said to Lindsey Vonn, "You will always be an Olympic champion." That's factual, isn't it? We always say that. You're never a former Olympic champion. You are an Olympic champion for life. And she won her gold medal in 2010. The hospital in Treviso issued a statement which said that she had had orthopedic surgery to stabilize the fracture that she sustained in her left leg. That was the same leg with the torn anterior cruciate ligament that was very controversial whether she should have raced or not, having done that injury in her last World Cup race. So what actually happened? Well, I'll tell you what actually happened that no one's talking about, and that is that the American Breezy Johnson won the gold medal, having gone before Lindsey. She then had to sit and watch Vonn's crash. Montero from Andorra had a bad crash too. Both of them were airlifted off the mountain. No one even got close. I mean, John was speculating maybe it just took the edge off some of the other competitors, having having seen that big crash. She's only the second woman, by the way, Breezy Johnson, to win the alpine skiing history, to win the Olympic downhill gold. Vonn was the first. So 13 seconds in, it was a dreadful crash, wasn't it?
It really was. And I think that's what's so stark about it, is that we could hear the pain that she was in. And everybody wanted to know how she was. I mean, she was in the air when she clipped one of the flags, one of the markers. She literally turned over. She hit her head on the snow, and then obviously was left. And she didn't seem to lie there for a very long time. And unfortunately, you could hear the crying. Now, this crash was on repeat on TV, and I think it's a really difficult thing. And you could tell that the commentators, certainly we were watching on TNT back here, that they were uncertain as to whether they really wanted to be showing them. But of course, they're not in control of the pictures themselves anyway. But my argument to that would be, look, it would already have been out there on social media. People would have already got it out and would have shown it. So there's no point not showing it, because people, want to see it. Now, whether that's right or wrong, ultimately, back in the Tudor times, people used to go to public hangings. They'd want to go and see it, and unfortunately, we want to see things that we don't necessarily really want to see, if that makes sense. Now, that is wrong. It's not fair on Lindsey Vonn to be able to hear her pain, but I think it is an issue that we have as human nature, that we're interested in these kind of things. And so what does the media do? Does it switch itself off, but then allow social media to grab it? Or do you say, well, look, this is what happened, but it is awful, and we send all of our best wishes to Vonn? Just quickly before you respond to that, I agree with what you said about Breezy Johnson. She had to sit there and watch everything unfold, and I wonder whether all the other competitors, as you say, just were like, actually, the way that Vonn really pushed out of that gate, she really pushed it, because she'd done the 2 training runs, but of course this is a race, and suddenly you just go a little bit faster, don't you? And I wonder whether the others were like, well, we're just going to hold back a little bit, which was why I allowed Breezy Johnson, having already got that really early marker down, that really fast time, as you say, and she went on to win that historic gold medal for America.
Yeah, it was muted celebrations as well for Breezy Johnson, certainly around the whole medal ceremony and everything else, understandably. On the conversation around what should television do, what should social media do, I think, and this is a bit naive of me, television needs to do what television needs to do and not worry too much about the ghouls on social media. And I think back to when I was a football commentator, and you'll know this, that when there was a serious injury in a football match, and we've seen a few over the years, the policy from the television, the production companies on Premier League football or Championship football that I commentated on, if there was a serious injury, they would cut to that wide camera whereby you couldn't really see the treatment that was taking place, so they wouldn't, get involved. If you think about the serious injuries or the serious illnesses that some footballers have developed on football pitches when they've collapsed, for example, they would cut to the wide camera, or they would cut to shots of the crowd, and they wouldn't show any replays of it. And what happens at the Olympic Games in terms of production is it's all very much a centralized production hub, and they will have a sort of policy to follow, if you like. So, everything will follow a bit of a format, and they will have people from all over the world. And I actually think that sensitivity with Premier League, Championship football, like I mentioned, is probably something that we only really maybe do in our country.
Yes, I agree.
And that is why I think, with this centralized Olympic broadcasting service, there's probably not that same sort of view or same sort of feeling on what to do in the TV coverage. The policy is, the plan is, the format is, we show the race. If something happens, we've got 8 other cameras and we run through all the replays. And that's what they did. And they're probably not thinking at the time. They're probably just doing their job.
I just wonder whether as well that it's really easy to say, sorry, this isn't our feed. We're not us. It's not us making the decision. We're just replaying the pictures. ultimately, if you're the broadcaster, you decide what you put out on your channel, as you say. And if you are feeling uncomfortable about it, then you need the capability, you need an editor to make the call and go, right, we're pulling out. Let's go back to the studio. Let's go to the commentators. They've got a camera with the commentators. Let's just go to them. We don't want to show this. And again, I wonder whether, because of the way that the world is these days, and we saw it with Glastonbury, where something's going out on Glastonbury, no one makes any decisions, they just leave it going out because there's not enough people, A, with the experience, or B, with actually on shift. Who knows?
Or with the nerve.
Yeah, to
make the call.
Yeah, it's a Sunday morning. Nobody's working.
I know a lot of people were sharing sort of clips of Shemi Alcott, who of course would have raced with Lindsey Vonn and would have been working for the BBC. And as I understand, I didn't see the coverage, obviously, because I'm here, not there. But was understandably quite emotional, having to try and sort of describe what was happening. I mean, as I said, I didn't see it. The BBC would have had an option to have gone back to their studio.
I think they did. I mean, I didn't watch it either, but I'm pretty sure they did from what you've read.
Because it's interesting on Italian television, and this is probably something to discuss on another podcast before we move on. There hardly is any studio presentation. If you are used to watching the Olympic Games on BBC television, you'll know that the day starts with a lot of chat. There'll be a lot of these sort of well-crafted features. There'll be a little bit of action. Then there'll be a lot more chat in the studio. That just doesn't happen on Italian TV. They've got it on one channel, their equivalent of BBC 2, RAI 2. They had the opening ceremony on one, but the action's all on two. And they just bounce from action to action. And you don't see a presenter or a pundit at any point. I think it's really good. I know they've got adverts, but I actually feel watching Italian TV that I'm seeing more of the action across more of the sports than I would with a BBC broadcast with no adverts, if that makes sense. But yeah, we'll keep you in touch with Lindsey Vonn. As we said, she's had an operation. All things point to the fact that she will make some kind of very good recovery, you would think, from this, but I'm not sure we'll see her competing again. Best wishes to her.
Well, Mia Brooks gave us a slight scare in the first run when she sat down on landing in the snowboard big air qualifying competition, but a second run, 89, and a third run, 78, ensured she made the final tonight. It could be quite the day in Livigno with Kirsty Muir in the slopestyle skiing action, of course, this morning. As Michael said, they are calling this potentially Magic Monday. 19-year-old Brooks, her first Olympics, learnt to ski on a dry slope in Manchester. She qualified third overall for the snowboards big air final. Asked how she combats the stress of elite competition, Michael. I listen to music, heavy metal, like Metallica and Megadeth. There you go. That's inspiring for Mia Brooks. And she also, of course, was slightly upset that Maisie Hill, who was, of course, told that she couldn't walk, or wouldn't be able to walk again after a high-speed crash into the snow 3 years ago, didn't quite manage to land at her first two jumps in the big air. So she doesn't progress to the final. So she won't be with Mia for the final tonight. But Maisie, I'm glad to say, will be back in action in slopestyle later in these games. And she's just delighted to be an Olympian. Well done to her.
M&M's. No, I'm not after some free chocolate. It's all about the M's today. Magic Monday, Mia, and Moat, and Jen Dodds.
And Metallica.
And Michael. Jen Dodds and Bruce Moat top the table with a round of matches in curling. Already into the semi-finals later on, as we know. They're going to face Sweden tonight. We think we've worked that one out. They beat the host nation 9-6, the defending champions and the home favourites. Italy also qualify for the final four. They're going to face the USA and Sweden, who finished fourth in the table with 5 wins out of 9. Team GB did beat them 7-4 on Friday, but the brother and sister are 2024 World Championships. It's now knockout curling. Earlier, GB, by the way, did lose their first match 7-6 to Switzerland after starting poorly and being well behind after 3 ends. So, and we talked it up, we discussed it yesterday. If the curlers win, that means they are guaranteed at least a silver medal. Then you've got Mia Brooks, Kirsty Muir. Could they win medals as well? Could it be a bit of history for Team GB? 3 medals in one day, best day ever. 2018. Talk us through it. That was the best day in British Winter Olympic history.
Yeah, it would equal that. If we win 3 medals, we would equal it. But as you say, the curlers are guaranteed a medal, so it's not actually getting the medal. But it would equal it because a gold and a bronze we got in skeleton in 2018. Lindsey Vonn becoming the first ever British athlete to retain, of course, the Olympic gold medal. She'd won it in 2014 in the women's skeleton and then did it again in 2018. And then Laura Dees, who we've had on the podcast as well, won that bronze medal famously, of course. And then there was also a bronze for Izzy Atkin. Actually, her sister's in action at these games later on in the championship. So it could equal that day. It's going to be pretty big, whatever. We also do know, of course, that we've only ever won 1 medal in the first 7 days of a game. So whatever happens today, if we do win more than 1, we've got a bit of history in that. And just with the curling, we do know that the 4 teams have qualified. So we know Great Britain have USA, Italy, and Sweden. The USA and Italy play each other. So I suppose they could maybe move positions. One of them could drop to 4th if they get beaten really heavily or something. But I'm pretty sure it is going to be Britain versus Sweden because it's 1st versus 4th. And that's according to the NBC website, which I fully, them being the people that fund the whole Olympics, I thought they probably did get it right.
Yeah, there's a lot of them here. By the way, people from American broadcasting, there are more curling round robin matches before those semi-finals, so we'll have to wait for them to unfold just to see those exact positions. My church bells are ringing again.
Beautiful.
As we record, it's past in the morning here, so the church bells are ringing, and my computer's also binging quite loudly as well at the minute. So put that on mute. 2 Brits in the top 16 of the men's cross-country skiathlon. So that is the 10K plus the 10K. Andrew Musgrave is 5th Olympic Games. We heard from him on the podcast. Finished a brilliant top 10, 10th, his second best Olympics position in his long career. He didn't rule out in that interview that you did going for number 6 as well. So like a fine wine, aging very well. Joe Davis was 16th too. Norway won gold and bronze. France got the silver.
A couple of other headlines that just caught my eye. USA in the skating, they won by a point against Japan in the team skating. That's an incredible result. So Team USA defending their team event in the figure skating. So USA gold, Japan 2nd, and Italy 3rd. And the sliding competitions have started already. We were talking about skeleton, hoping big hopes for Britain, of course, without the brand new helmet. But it was the men's luge, the final runs. And of course, the Germans won. The Germans always win the sliding competition. So
and they'll win a lot of the bobsleigh medals, if not all the bobsleigh medals. Should just mention for the record, by the way, in that skiathlon, that Johannes Hosflot Klæbo of Norway, he won his 6th Olympic gold medal in that one. And you might know the name Esther Ledecka, Czechia snowboard in the parallel giant slalom, was looking for a 3rd consecutive parallel giant slalom gold, but was knocked out actually in the earlier stages by Sabine Payer of Austria. Ledecka first came to prominence back in 2018 when she won medals on snowboard and on skis. So pretty remarkable. The other big headline from yesterday is I set my smoke alarm off and nearly got all the neighbours evacuated.
Okay.
That is the other big headline from Milano Daily, from Anything But Footy. Tomorrow's news today for Team GB and our news from the games coming up.
Hi, I'm Ashley Nelson and you're listening to Anything But Footy with the latest on the Winter Olympics.
Every sip of Coca-Cola brings you closer to the excitement of the FIFA World Cup 26. Because nothing compares to the joy. So grab a Coke and drink in the FIFA World Cup 26. No purchase necessary. 13 plus in 50 U.S. states and D.C. with a web-enabled device. Ends March 1st with 8 entry periods. Rules at cokeurl.com/soccer rules.
This is Milano Daily from Anything But Footy.
Now, hang on. We need the smoke story. We need the smoke alarm story.
I'm too embarrassed to tell you.
Was it a bit of toast?
No. So I'm in Italy. I'm in Milan, and I had meet up with one of our colleagues from Sky News or Sky Sports News the other day, and he was telling me
This isn't
about...
a drunken story, is it?
No.
Okay.
So he was telling me just about how he and his camera operator have had this wonderful pizza in this wonderful restaurant that they've been to a couple of times. And I mentioned yesterday on the podcast I hadn't had a pizza whilst I was here, but I was back in the apartment later on yesterday, and then I had that kind of hunger pang thing going on. But it was a Sunday night in Milan, and I am really looking forward to seeing how the new week, Monday morning, by the way, is now in the city, having had a lovely weekend. Anyway, I had the hunger pang, but there was nowhere open to go and get one of these lovely, fluffy pizzas that Geraint had been telling me all about. But there was a little shop open, so I bought a frozen one, which I stuck in the microwave. It told me to put it on for 5 minutes. Put it in the microwave for 5 minutes, potted off, went to write a script, do some editing, came back to find my entire kitchen looking like a scene out of London's Burning. And then the alarm went.
Oh, my goodness. But my first reaction to that is frozen pizza in Italy.
All I could get. All I could get. That's why I said I didn't really want to tell the story. All I could get on a Sunday night.
It's the story.
It's
the story of the game so far.
And the other good thing, though, of giving you a little bit of an insight into my life, is that my charging cable for my laptop didn't seem to work with the power point that I have in my apartment, and so I've established that I needed a different connection. And good planning from us, we managed to rent an apartment that was 5 minutes walk from the biggest branch of Italian Dixons or Currys I've ever seen in my entire life. It was like walking into the San Siro full of electrical equipment. Now, some people might say that was luck that we're so close to that electrical store that has everything we might possibly need. I think you make your own luck in this Olympic Games.
Indeed, it's day 3. Please try and survive day 3 without burning anything in the apartment,
especially not frozen pizza.
No, exactly.
Sorry, Italy. I didn't think they'd let me in this time after my parking and driving infringements when I came on holiday and the fines that they sent me.
Don't tell them.
I've paid them. I'm fine. Time for tomorrow's news today. This is TNT. So we look ahead to the action a couple of days ahead, just to kind of mark your card. And here in Milan, we are focusing today on some short track speed skating. The Italian's big hope is the 34-year-old Arianna Fontana, 2-time Olympic champion, carried the flag in the opening ceremony. She's in her 6th Olympic Games in the 500 metres. Team GB's Niall Treacy goes in the men's 1,000 metre heats. He made his Olympic debut in 2022. He's not the only Treacy that's been in Team GB, as we're about to find out as well. Since those games, he's finished in the top 10 of a number of World Cup events, and he started by telling me all about what we are to expect to see.
Short track speed skating is a racing knockout sport. So in most of the distance there'll be 32 of you, and you're split into different heats. And then the way it goes is just the first 2 across the line qualify to the next round. Everyone else is knocked out, and you keep going until you have 5 or up to 8 guys in the final, and then whoever's 1, 2, and 3 gets the medals.
And anything can happen in your sport. We have seen that. There are always pieces of drama. There's always excitement. How would you describe it?
Yeah, I'd say it's just like, I think if you're watching, sometimes it just looks like chaos, but it's like an organised chaos. I think everyone knows what each racer's trying to do and what their strengths and weaknesses are, but unfortunately, like, as most people who have been in ice skating, it's easy to fall over, and it's easy to fall over when you're going like 50 kilometres an hour. So yeah, makes it very unpredictable, which is always fun.
I was going to ask how fast you go and whether you have any time during that to think what's going through your mind.
Yeah, so like the top speed you go is around about 50 kilometers an hour. It's probably best if you're not thinking. I think if you're thinking a little bit too much, you're gonna the corner's gonna come a little bit too quick for you. But obviously, like when I'm all the training that we do, I'm focusing on technique, and then as soon as you get to the racing, you hope that technique's like muscle memory and instilled, because you don't have the time to think about it. You're just racing, like you're trying to skate that fast on like razor thin blades with 5 other people around you and a crowd going crazy. So it's hard to do a whole lot of thinking.
Are you an adrenaline junkie?
I wouldn't say I am. I wouldn't say I'm that is who I am. But I love racing, and I do love speed. And I think it's hard to describe like the feeling of like going around when you've nailed a corner and like you carry that speed. It's hard to describe to someone that hasn't experienced that. So that's why it's like I just keep doing it, and like that's just that feeling I love.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you love it?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, I could talk about short track for hours. I could watch short track for hours. So yeah. I
was listening back driving down here to an interview I think we did when you were selected for Beijing, and you described to me then that it was the culmination of a 13-year dream. So the Olympics has been something inside of you for a long time.
Yeah, no, it has. And like I said, like when you join an Olympic sport, that is the goal. And when I first joined the national team, it's you set out and you go, okay, what's our 4-year cycle? And as soon as we finished Beijing and like we got home from that, it was like, okay, Milan, what's the plan? What's the plan year 1? What's the plan year 2, year 3, and then to execute it in year 4? Yeah, it's always, but on the back of everyone's mind is February 2026. So.
And it's usually been a family affair, hasn't it? Like on your own this time?
Yeah, no, unfortunately on my own. Like obviously, Farrell, like he'd gone to 2018 and 2022, went together, but unfortunately 2 years ago he had a crash in Gdansk in Poland and had a blade into his knee and needed surgery on it. So he is back skating, but I think maybe the trials or the season just came a little bit too early for him, which is such a shame. But yeah, no, I think, and obviously I had another brother who skated at World Champs and whatnot, so I think that will still be cheering me on.
What's your earliest Olympic memories then?
My earliest Olympic memories is 2010 in Vancouver, the Great Britain men's relay team. I remember watching that and just being like blown away. They'd won the B final, and it was just something I thought was so incredible. And then after that, one of the relay skaters, he retired, and then he became my club coach back in Solihull, Tom Iverson. And then ever since then, and then I saw Farrell move up onto the national team, and it was just like that's the direction I want to go. And then yeah, the next step is the games.
You've been on a World Cup podium, European medalist as well. Can you win a medal at the Olympic Games?
I think so. I think, to be honest, that's the beauty of short track. I think I've definitely proved that I'm fast enough to compete with the top guys in the world. I think the biggest thing that I lack is probably consistency. But at the games, the beauty of the games, like anything can happen. People can have a lot more stress than they realise, or don't quite step up to the moment. And I feel like why not me?
Niall Treacy talking to Michael. So the heats of the 1,000 metres are tomorrow. More freestyle skiing. We hope to have success with Kirsty and Mia later on Magic Monday, of course. But on Tuesday, we have the Moguls. And we heard from Michaela Gherkin-Schofield a couple of days ago about the opening ceremony. She's now in Moguls action. And she's joined in the British team for the first time by debutant Mateo Jeannesson.
Mateo, Michaela, Magic Monday. I mean, the M's are just continuing, aren't they?
It's impressive. It's like we've planned this. The two-time Olympian Michaela, of course, and Mateo making his debut. The 21-year-old is a former junior world champion. His mum is British, and he arrived in Livigno at the weekend after training at home in France before the games.
The infrastructure we have here is, it's pretty cool, and I'm very honoured to be here.
Now, Moguls, it looks quite painful, Mateo. Bumping down.
It can be. If you get it wrong, it can be quite painful. Yeah.
Tell us about it and the attraction of it.
I mean, I think it's just really cool sport because there's a mix of the freestyle element on the jumps, and then there's a really technical element of the skiing. So we're really working on all these different sort of aspects to perfect our craft, and that's what I think is really exciting about it. And the feeling you get when you're skiing moguls fast and you're doing it right, it's you feel like you're just flying down. So it's quite an amazing feeling.
And you've had a lot of success as a youngster, junior world champion, just one of the many things that you have won. How is form going into these games?
Well, I had an injury actually this season on my heel, which kind of prevented me from competing at the beginning of the season. And at that point, I was quite down. I was like, "Wow, I'm not able to compete." But then I rested it, and it's feeling a lot better. And I did training camp at home for the past few weeks. and I was skiing super good, and I felt like I'd completely recovered my level, and I was probably skiing better than ever. So yeah, I don't really know what to expect, but I think I can do really cool things. So it's exciting.
Now, the Moguls came into the Olympics, I think officially in 92. I think it was a demonstration in 88, but officially from 92. But we've got the dual Moguls coming into these games as well. Will you be doing those as well?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a really cool event. I think everyone will love to watch it. It gets pretty crazy. It's very fast, and it's this big jumps. It's really quite impressive to watch. I think it's great for us because now we get two events to compete in, and yeah, I think it will be a fan favorite for these games to come and watch or watch on TV. It's really impressive.
And the difference is effectively, are you racing the other person?
Yeah, so it's the main difference is that instead of just going down on your own, you're going down against someone else. So it's matchups, and it's like a tournament kind of the way it works. And then technically, I guess because of that, there's more of an element of speed because you really want to beat the other person to the finish line. So it changes a little bit. You're less concerned about cleanness and having a really mistake-free run, and it's more about just charging and going super fast. So it makes for these really exciting sort of battles down the course.
That's John speaking to Mateo Jeannesson. Biathlon. Let's fast forward to that. We've got the men's 20K individual event, and for the first time in 8 years, Team GB will be represented in biathlon at these Olympic Winter Games. Like Mateo, Team GB's Jacques Jefferies grew up in France, but he switched to GB last summer. But have a listen to him. Doesn't sound very French to me.
My name is Jacques Jefferies. I am a French-born British athlete. I do biathlon, which is not particularly a very well-known winter sport, but it's an amazing one, and I will be representing Team GB at this year's Winter Olympic Games in Milan Cortina. At the beginning of the winter, I was quite a long way off the selection policy, and I didn't know if I was quite going to be able to do it. But I managed to put in some really good races, some great performances, and now to actually be here officially named a Team GB athlete is truly inspiring. I'm joining an amazing group of past and future Olympians.
So you mentioned obviously you're a biathlete. So tell us what disciplines you're going to be competing in at the Olympics, and people at home listening, what do they need to know about them?
Biathlon, if you've never heard of it, is a combination of two very distinct sports: cross-country skiing and 50-meter rifle shooting. So yeah, completely wild. Who thought of putting those two together? But it's an amazing sport with such a variety of events. We have individual start, we have mass starts, we have pursuit start events. We also have relays. I'll be competing in individual first, and then the sprint race. The individual is a 4-shot race, a 20 kilometers, the longest race we can do. And then I'll also be doing the shortest race we can do, which is a 10 kilometers ski with a prone shoot and a stand shooting.
And you mentioned, of course, French born, but British parents. So what made you choose from going from France, who you had competed as a really good, talented, medal-winning junior, to going into Great Britain for your senior career?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in France, but I was born British, grown up British. I have all my family here in Britain, and even though everything was going really well with France, representing Great Britain and Team GB is representing what I was born as, the country of my parents and my grandparents, and who wouldn't? Like, Great Britain is an amazing sporting country, and to be able to pursue this dream as a Winter Olympian is just amazing.
What attracted you to biathlon? What was it about this brilliant sport that you just fell in love with?
Once you've watched biathlon on the TV, you will know exactly why I've chosen biathlon. Like, it's just pumping blood all the time, and then having to focus and shoot. You're mixing so many different emotions at the same time. You got to be good at endurance. You got to be really precise. You got to be able to slow down twice or 4 times during a race. And what other sport does that? Most sports, you start and you go all out until the end. I have to go all out, stop, all out, stop. It's amazing. I love it. I grew up doing alpine skiing when I was younger, but I preferred endurance sports. I quickly switched, and I definitely don't regret.
How do you go from that physicality of the ski section into then having to be dead settled, dead still, really concentrate and shoot?
It's just some kind of special science, which is really hard to describe. My heart's going 190, 200 beats per minute for 6 minutes. And then as I get to the shooting range, I just need to switch off completely. Like I need to stop thinking about the skiing. I got to start thinking about dropping heart rate, breathing like slower and slower to be really focused, because like if I'm breathing too hard, if my heart beats a little too hard, I'm missing every target, and that's an extra minute and a half. It's hard skiing, shooting all summer, all during the winter prep, and in the end it always works out.
And what does it mean to you today to be named and be given this kit?
You can't see, but I'm holding the British Lion on my chest. It's really amazing. Like I'm seeing loads of amazing athletes here. It's been a long time coming. I'm inspired. I can't wait to inspire other people whilst racing at these games, and hopefully more people will start doing a biathlon in the years to come.
And just finally, what are you hoping to do? What is your success measure when you get to the Olympics?
My success measure at the Olympics is being able to put on a 100% performance. In biathlon, like you often, when you get an off day, you're missing targets, and that's not good. You end up at the back. For me, I just want to be able to be really good, shoot all my targets down, and I'm aiming for a top 40, top 50 finish. I would be really happy with that, and that would be an outstanding games for me.
That is Jacques Jefferies speaking to me ahead of the biathlon. A lot of people actually have messaged me saying, I'm listening to a lot of these interviews and I'm hearing some Canadian accents, I'm hearing some French accents, I'm hearing some maybe US twangs. I think, everyone obviously who represents Team GB is there properly, but I think like Lila and Lewis, the figure skaters, you have to kind of leave Great Britain to get to this level in winter sports, and that's where I think you pick up the accents, and that's the question that we ask a lot of people. Go on then, outline your credentials. But listening to Jacques Jefferies, despite growing up in France and being there his whole life, I mean, yeah, certainly sounds very British. You also, if you speak to Lila Fear at any point, because she actually wasn't born in Britain, she's British parentage, you need to get her to do a British accent though. So
because she's British Canadian, doesn't she? She's got a British passport and a Canadian passport, because she was, I think, born Canadian but went to school in London. So
yeah, she came here, but her British accent is something to behold. And then when she does her British accent, then Lewis starts becoming much more Scottish and starts doing his Scottish accent. Lewis, I remember telling me that he just has to basically, and I've heard this before, if you go and base yourself out in America or Canada, as those guys do, you've either just got to embrace it and start using words like sidewalk and trash and pick up the accent, or you've got to become really British, in which case, I mean, you've got to start using words like fiddlesticks. That's your two options, basically, and I think they've embraced their culture. Anyway, that is the latest from the Winter Games. We'll have a little bit more for you tomorrow.
News from the games and away from these winters, and Northern England Olympic Games. Am I reading this right? In 2036 or 2040. That's the idea of Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham. I thought he'd have other things to think about, to be honest. But he may also be in for a challenge from the likes of India and Saudi Arabia for those games. So the Northern England Olympic Games bid was in the Sunday Times yesterday, Michael.
Was it? It was on our website about 3 years ago.
I was going to say, have they been reading your website?
I mean, we floated this idea, weren't we, when we were working with Commonwealth Games Federation, looking at alternatives once we knew that they were, really struggling to find a place, a city, a region to host 2026. We know Glasgow stepped up, but we floated this idea that the north of England was pretty well developed in terms of sporting venues. We put together this X plan, which was kind of from Newcastle to Sheffield, from Liverpool to Hull. And we said there's a lot of venues already existing, swimming pools. You could upgrade the Gateshead International Stadium for athletics if you wanted. But yeah, the Sunday Times now, obviously, you've been chatting to Andy Burnham that needs something new, having been blocked from standing for Parliament in this by-election by his party leader. Needs something new to get his teeth into. So Andy Burnham's floated this idea of kind of a Northern England Olympic Games. London, of course, have hosted it 3 times.
Rightly so, it's the capital city.
I think when London went for it in 2012, the feeling, or went for it obviously in 2005, but hosted in 2012, the feeling was it had to be London. It couldn't be anywhere else in this country. I suspect that has possibly changed a little bit in that time. We are 20 years on. But I still think if you're an IOC member, you want to go somewhere where and you can go shopping on Bond Street.
Yeah, I suppose Brisbane is probably, it's obviously not the capital of Australia, it's not Sydney, but it's still Brisbane.
Yeah, I know. I don't think 2036 is a goer. I think it might well go to India.
Might be in Goa.
Might be in Goa. Bits of it, surfing in Goa. And I think we're going to see sooner or later one of the Middle East nations, Saudi Arabia, of course, step up and put a bid forward. I think that would be attractive to the IOC because we know they follow the cash.
And also they follow the World Cup. And obviously the World Cup's been in the Middle East, isn't it? A couple of years ago, Qatar, and it was a successful World Cup, and they'll want to cash in on that as well.
Yeah, so, and this isn't a new idea. They're talking about using the City of Manchester Stadium for athletics. That would need a bit of reworking. Of course, it did host Commonwealth Games athletics in 2002. But if you remember at that point, one of the stadium ends was still open, hadn't been completed. And then when they took the track out, they closed it up. So I just wonder whether the footprint allows you to put an athletics track in there and how it would work. They did it with Hampden. Bit more room around the pitch at Hampden. There are obviously other venues in Liverpool, in Manchester. You've got aquatic centres. Leeds have got quite a sort of big developed aquatic centre where you could have diving, for example. The velodromes in Manchester, loads of arenas from Newcastle to Hull. Sheffield, of course, has got a lot of places as well. It's all on our website. About 3 years ago, we put everything down. If Andy Burnham needs the plan, it's there.
Yeah, Michael should be the man that leads it. That's what we're calling for. Michael Waddock is your man. Andy Burnham, if you want to get in touch, I think maybe we should just concentrate on getting some proper railways up north. But, rather than having an Olympic bid. But
that actually it was the one final serious point that I was going to make about this. I think a lot of venues are there, whether they would be for competition, training venues, whatever. But the one serious point that I would make is, as we saw in London and as we see Olympic cities all around the world, if you put a deadline on it, and the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games is a deadline, what you do is you unlock lots of other investment. And in the same way that we saw East London transformed and continues to be transformed at Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, if the IOC turned around and went, okay, North of England, 2044, you are hosting the Olympic Games, then suddenly you've got a reason to get these train lines from Hull to Liverpool going. You've got a reason to finish HS2 and maybe attempt to do something with HS3, although they've shelved it. It is an opportunity, and that's what Andy Burnham, in the same way that Seb Coe talked about inspiring a legacy, but regeneration, it is an opportunity to suddenly get some of those big infrastructure projects through.
And we finish with another M, Manchester, for the Olympic bids.
Remember, we are here every day with a Milano Daily. Team GB results, reaction, and news from the games, and we'll just keep you ahead of the game on TNT, tomorrow's news today. Find us on social media, Anything But Footy. You can check us out there, Instagram, Threads, and others. The Spotify Olympics music playlist is available for you as well. This is Milano Daily from Anything But Footy.
Hi, I'm Marcus Wyatt, skeleton athlete with Team GB. You're listening to Anything But Footy with the latest on the Olympics.